Her heart had stopped. Her body was cold. Her brain showed nothing, and she was watching from above. She described the exact cart in the corner. She had never been in that room before. The doctors could not explain it. She was dead. She was also watching. So what actually happens when you die? Because your brain does not stop immediately, not for up to 10 full minutes. The science is stranger than anyone told you. Death is not a moment. It is a process. Some of your cells keep dividing for days. Scientists have resurrected organs hours after death. And in your final seconds, your brain does something extraordinary. It floods your body with its most powerful chemicals, the same ones that may create the tunnel of light. And researchers at major hospitals are now verifying that some people saw things they should not have been able to see. NASA and quantum physicists are asking whether consciousness survives the body, and the math does not immediately fall apart. Here is what is actually happening inside you when you die. The moment your heart stops, oxygen delivery halts. Your brain regions begin shutting down in sequence. Conscious awareness is usually the first to go, but the neurons do not simply stop. They fire in a massive coordinated surge. A 2013 University of Michigan study led by Dr. Jimmo Borjigin found this. In dying rats, brain activity spiked to levels higher than normal waking consciousness. Gamma waves, the signature of peak conscious experience, surged at the moment of death. This is likely where the near-death experience begins. The tunnel of light is not mystical, it is electrical. Your visual cortex activates fully without any external input. You are generating an internal reality more vivid than waking life. But there is something else happening at exactly the same time. Your pineal gland releases DMT, dimethyltryptamine. Research published in 2019 confirmed DMT surges in dying rat brains. DMT is the most potent psychedelic compound the human brain produces. People who have taken DMT describe the same things near-death experiencers describe. Entities, overwhelming light, the sensation of leaving the body, a feeling of profound meaning. This is not a coincidence researchers are ignoring. Now here is where it gets harder to explain. In verified out-of-body studies, objects were placed on high shelves where no patient could see them. Patients who were clinically dead described those objects accurately. Dr. Sam Parnia at NYU Langone has been running the AWARE study, placing hidden markers throughout cardiac wards. His goal, confirm or deny whether consciousness leaves the body during resuscitation. At least one verified case matched the hidden marker with impossible accuracy. The positioning made visual access from the bed physically impossible. This does not prove consciousness survives death, but it does not disprove it either. And that is exactly where quantum physicists have entered the conversation. Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff proposed that consciousness is not produced by the brain. Their orchestrated objective reduction theory says consciousness lives in quantum processes inside neurons. When the brain dies, that quantum information may not simply disappear. It may disperse into the quantum fabric of the universe itself. Quantum mechanics has a law. Information cannot be destroyed. If your consciousness is information, what happens to it when the system that holds it collapses? NASA-funded researchers are now modeling whether biological consciousness could transfer to non-biological substrates. The sequence of death is nothing like what most people picture, because your cells are still very much alive long after your heart stops. Skin cells and hair follicle cells continue dividing for up to 3 days. In 2022, Yale researchers revived pig organs an entire hour after death using a solution called OrganX. Cell death was reversing. Organs were beginning to function. The medical definition of irreversible death keeps getting pushed further forward. Alive and dead are not opposites. They are points on a continuum. For at least 10 minutes after your heart stops, your biology is still actively doing things. And some of those things, like the gamma surge, are happening at a higher intensity than when you are alive. Your body does not go quietly, it goes loudly, chemically, electrically. The DMT flood triggers an internal experience that may feel more real than anything in waking life. Entities made of light, a presence that knows you completely. Time losing all meaning. Rick Strassman, the first researcher licensed to study DMT in humans, called it a consistent encounter with another reality. His subjects did not feel they had hallucinated. They felt they had been somewhere. This is the part that science is still sitting with. Is the near-death experience just chemistry, or is the chemistry the mechanism for something real? We do not yet have the answer, but the science is no longer pointing clearly toward nothing. Here is what we actually know so far. Your heart stops. Your brain surges for up to 10 minutes with more electrical activity than it ever produced in life. Your pineal gland releases DMT. Your visual cortex generates a reality more vivid than any dream. Some people who are clinically dead during this window perceive things in the physical room they should not be able to see. Quantum theorists argue the information that makes you may not vanish, it may simply change form. Your cells keep living. Some organs can be revived hours later. The line between alive and dead is not a line. Death may not be the end of experience. It may be the most intense experience your brain ever produces. Which leaves the most important question. If your neurons are not you and your chemistry is not you, and your cells keep living after you are gone, what part of you actually dies? Maybe that is not a philosophical question anymore. Maybe it is the next scientific frontier. And here is what that frontier is actually uncovering right now. That 10-minute surge after cardiac arrest is not random noise. The activity is coherent, organized. It resembles purposeful processing, not system failure. Researchers are now asking whether the dying brain is doing something, not just falling apart. The gamma surge at death matches the exact frequency your brain uses to bind conscious experience together. That is not a poetic observation. That is a measurable, replicable finding. Now return to the verified out-of-body cases for a moment. These patients were not guessing. They were reporting specific shapes, colors, and positions. In at least one documented case in the AWARE study, all 4 details matched precisely. The research team could find no conventional explanation for the accuracy. Either consciousness left the body or something else is happening that science does not yet have language for. Quantum physicists point out that non-local information transfer is already proven at the particle level. If the Penrose-Hameroff model is correct, your consciousness was never fully localized to begin with. It was always partially distributed. Death may simply complete that distribution. And because quantum information cannot be destroyed, the pattern that encodes your experience must go somewhere. The destination is unknown, but erasure under quantum law is not an option. Meanwhile, the DMT question is not going away either. The 2019 University of Michigan study showed DMT concentrations in dying rat brains exceeding those during normal sleep. DMT experiences are not vague. They are highly structured, highly consistent, and feel more real than waking life. The overlap between DMT trip reports and near-death experience reports is statistically extraordinary. Some researchers have used the phrase deliberately designed, and then immediately walked it back, because the timing of the DMT release correlates too perfectly with the moment of death to feel accidental. No one has a satisfying answer, but the question is being asked in peer-reviewed journals. And while all of this is happening in the brain, the rest of your body is refusing to cooperate with death either. The OrganX findings from Yale did not just restore cells, they restored coordinated organ behavior. Kidneys were filtering, hearts were showing electrical coordination, livers were producing proteins. What was once called irreversible is now being called conditional on available intervention. The overlap zone between alive and dead is bigger than medicine has ever publicly acknowledged. Every year the threshold moves. Every year death gets a little less final. What we are learning is not that death is an illusion. It is that death is a process we are only beginning to understand at the level it actually operates. The question is not whether something happens when you die. The question is whether we have the instruments to detect it yet.